Just stop for a minute and think about this. An elementary school student living in Japan wakes up at 7 a.m. and the first thing they do is make their bed. Right before going to school, they write something in a notebook. They don't use that notebook as a diary. They use it like an accounting ledger. And the child doing this is only 8 years old. Their family gives them allowance, but instead of spending it, they divide the money into 3 small envelopes, pick up a pen, and write something on top of each envelope. While their friends are outside drinking soda, that child is sitting at home. But they're not unhappy. In fact, they feel a sense of achievement inside because that child understands something that most adults and kids their age still don't fully understand. Money reveals its true power, not when you spend it, but when you control it. So why is this child like this? Do they go to a special school? Are they the child of economists? Not exactly. This is just a normal child growing up in a normal family in Japan. The difference between them and other children isn't intelligence. It's the small habits gained at an early age. And in this video, we're going to talk about those habits, where they come from, how science supports them, why they aren't commonly known in our culture, and most importantly, how you can apply them today without spending any money. But before we begin, if you're not subscribed to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on the video because we're still a small channel and these little supports really mean a lot for growth. Also, at the end of the video, I'll give you some tips you can apply without spending any money. But before those tips, you should watch the video until the end so you can understand the reasons behind them. Now let me start by asking you a question. At what age did you begin to understand what money really is? Not just you earn money and then spend it, but understanding that money is a process, a form of power, a status symbol. Most people answer this question with too late, and that's not a coincidence. Japan has been among the countries with the highest personal savings rates in the world for decades. But here's the interesting part. Japanese children don't grow up under constant pressure to save money or build savings compared to their Western peers. Japanese parents don't overwhelm their kids with phrases like, save your money, don't spend, or don't waste. So why are these children so different from kids in other cultures? The answer lies within the system itself. In Japan, children receive a kind of preschool education through the culture of otetsudai. Otetsudai means helping in Japanese, but there's a much deeper meaning underneath that word. In Japanese families, children see small household tasks as their own responsibility and complete them without complaining. Setting the table, organizing shoes, taking care of a younger sibling, and in return, their families give them allowance. But here's the important detail. The money is taught not as a reward, but as compensation. And even though this difference may seem small, it creates a huge impact on the child's brain. Neuroscience explains it like this. When a child earns money as a reward, the brain associates it with the pleasure center and wants to spend it. But when money is earned as compensation for contribution, the brain associates it with value creation. These two different neural pathways affect all of the child's future financial behavior. One path turns the child into a consumer, while the other turns them into a producer. You've probably heard of Walter Mischel's marshmallow experiment conducted at Stanford University in the 1960s. A marshmallow is placed in front of small children, and they are told, if you don't eat this until I come back, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. Some children wait, while others immediately eat the marshmallow in front of them, and researchers follow these children for years. The results are striking. The children who were able to wait ended up having much better academic careers in adulthood, healthier relationships with people, and far more logical financial decisions. The children who couldn't wait experienced the opposite effect. And this massive difference had nothing to do with the income level of their families or their intelligence. That's exactly what the Japanese system teaches: delayed gratification. Economists from the University of Cambridge also stated in a 2013 study that the development of children's financial habits is largely completed by the age of 7. In other words, the earlier you start, the better. At the center of Japanese financial education is the 3-envelope system. The first envelope is tsukai, for today's spending. The second envelope is choken, for your future self. The third envelope is kifu, for sharing and donating. The first envelope is actually very important because it teaches the child that spending is not a crime. Japan's financial education system doesn't raise children like robots or forbid pleasure. It simply teaches them to control that pleasure. This is very different from many Western financial education models, where children are taught to spend less and save more. In Japan, they are taught that everything has its own time. The importance of the second envelope lies in its physical existence. Every week, the child visually sees the envelope becoming fuller, and research proves that visible physical progress is far more effective than abstract progress that exists only in the mind. That's why they use a physical envelope instead of an app on a phone. That's why the money is placed into something they can hold and physically see instead of just a mobile banking app. The third envelope reflects the Japanese psychological concept of amai, mutual dependence and helping one another. Japanese culture believes that an individual cannot exist independently from society, and that philosophy reaches even the smallest of the three envelopes. The philosophy of Kaizen is also one of the building blocks of the system. Kaizen means continuous improvement in Japanese, and it teaches this: get 1% better every day. Instead of giant overnight transformations, focus on small but consistent steps. When a child puts aside a small part of their allowance every week, it may seem insignificant in their mind. But for a child who thinks with the Kaizen philosophy, those small steps are the beginning of something much bigger. Behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg reached the exact same conclusion after years of research. People don't change and improve through motivation, but through the routines and systems they build for themselves. And that's exactly what Kaizen creates. Not temporary motivation, but a lasting system. One of Japan's most contradictory parenting philosophies is mimamoru, protecting by watching. In Western parenting, the mindset is often this: stop the child before they make mistakes and remove obstacles in front of them. Mimamoru argues for the exact opposite. Don't interfere, just observe and allow the child to experience and learn from what they're going through. This idea can be misunderstood because it may look like neglect, but it's not. On the contrary, it makes the child feel trust and love. Think about it financially. You give your child allowance, and they spend all of it on the first day without saving anything. And by the weekend, they can't buy something they want. A parent with the Mimamoru mindset doesn't give extra allowance in that situation or try to rescue the child. Instead, they ask a question: how do you feel right now? And after that question, the child experiences disappointment and regret within themselves. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's when the child learns an incredibly valuable life lesson. Neuroscience supports this too. The prefrontal cortex, the decision-making and self-control center of the brain, only develops when it faces real consequences. Every time parents rescue the child in order to protect them, that part of the brain fails to develop properly, and later in life, the child can end up in a much worse position, both financially and personally. At the heart of this entire system lies shitsuke, embracing discipline, not as something forced externally, but as something accepted spiritually and internally. Why do so many people say they'll save money at New Year's, only to quit before even 1 month passes? Because motivation is useless without routine and identity. Shitsuke explains exactly this. In the Japanese system, children are not told, "You must follow the rules." Instead, they are taught things like, you are someone who controls their money. You are someone who makes rational spending decisions. You are someone who cares about your future. And once a child adopts that identity, their behaviors begin to reflect it naturally. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research supports this as well. When people are told, you are a saver, they save at much higher rates than when they are simply told, you should save. One small wording difference creates a massive impact. Now let me give you some tips you can apply today, and none of them require spending money. First tip, get 3 envelopes, write spending on one, savings on another, and sharing on the last one. Then sit down with your child and talk together about how you'll divide the money. Even that conversation alone can become a powerful financial lesson. Second tip, try the 72-hour rule. If your child asks you to buy something for them, ask this before purchasing it. Will you still want this 72 hours from now? Research says that after those 72 hours, the desire to buy the item decreases dramatically. But the important part is that you should present this to the child like a game, not a strict protocol. Third tip, every week, spend at least 10 minutes opening the envelopes together with your child and talking with them. You can ask questions like, how much did you spend this week? How much did you save? How much did you share? How did you feel while doing all this? And what do you want to do differently next week? These short 10-minute conversations every week can create better results than almost any financial literacy course, because the child gains experience together with knowledge. Fourth tip, while giving financial advice to your child, also build an identity. Instead of only saying, save money, say something like, because you are a child who saves money, you'll achieve great things in the future. Trust me, that is much more effective. Because children don't do what they are told, they do what they believe about themselves. Of course, these steps are not only for children. Even if you're an adult, you can apply these steps too. You can create your own envelopes, ask yourself the 72-hour rule, and have weekly financial conversations with yourself. Thank you for watching until this point. If you'd like to check out my other videos, I left them on the screen, and you can click to watch instantly. See you in the next video. Goodbye.